Welcome back to my channel, fellow gardeners. In my previous amaryllis attack by caterpillars, I said would continue and see what I did with my bulbs. So basically I have my bulbs here and I will explain during this episode what I'm going to do and how I'm going to propagate it further. So my name is Alice and I'm the Red Soil Gardener. So fellow gardeners, here we are with these bulbs, and I never realized when I did pull them out and save them from the caterpillar, I didn't realize my bulbs were so big. So anyway, I'm really happy that we did save it, because by the time I cut the flower stalk and the leaves, I realized I don't have any more caterpillars in there. So I'm actually quite happy that we were able to save these. And we're going to start propagating them. So the last time we looked at the amaryllis, when we did about the forced blooming and also looked at propagation, we looked at the propagation of the offsets. Now what it was is that once we did pull out the bulb, we did get all these bulblets, which are the baby bulbs, around the parent plant. And I think it was a really good idea that we took them, and I'm actually growing them in this pot, because had I lost this amaryllis because of the caterpillars, I wouldn't have had another amaryllis plant to actually showcase when it does bloom. So now these ones, as I mentioned earlier, is that once I was under attack and we saw how vicious that attack was, I just took them, cut off the leaves and tried to cut off the flower stem, and then I actually left them for almost 24 hours in a solution in a bucket that would actually get rid of those caterpillars. And so then what I did is I left them for 2 days to dry, because we don't want them, if you do leave them too long in water, it won't be so firm. So we dried them, and then here we are, and we're going to propagate this. So the first thing I'm going to do during this propagation is actually wear gloves, because first of all it is messy and we're not sure about the bulbs. I don't want to have contact with them because they do have a lot of sap and stuff. So what I'm going to do here is, this is the bigger one. So what I'm going to do first is actually trim these roots and also remove any of the roots that actually look as if they're drying out or they're old, that doesn't really, like this one, don't need that. Now the second thing I'm going to do is actually remove this papery cover that actually usually sits around. It's a bit like an onion plant when you have to clean it. It's just to remove all that papery stuff that protects the bulb. But maybe the best thing also is take your knife first and alcohol, because we don't want to actually, after the caterpillars, we don't want to lose it to fungicide or something. So I'm just going to snip this like this. Here we go. And it's actually quite interesting when you do snip the top off, then you actually see that this bit here, that is where you actually get your flower stem. I think with this process, I think it's easier to actually remove this without any gloves. So I'm just going to take them off like that. There we go. Now it looks all nice and clean. We can actually look at what we're dealing with. So always do remove that papery bit, because you really don't need it. And then you can actually look at the plant. If I look at this plant and I think, what am I going to do? I have different types of actually propagation methods that I wanted to go into today. So one thing what we could do with this bulb is actually plant it like what we did with the others. So I could actually put it in a pot, submerge it, as we said, only keeping a third above, and it will grow. But as I've removed and snipped the top, what I would do is actually let it dry out. So I'm going to keep this one aside and then just continue removing these ones. Okay, so now I have my 4 bulbs here. So I have to decide to myself, what am I going to do with them? So now what I'd like us to do is that this is the propagation we did with the bulb in our previous episode, because I would like to try that again and actually this time use one of the bigger bulbs and actually get more out of it, because from the parent bulb you could actually, through the division of the bulb, you can actually get a lot of bulblets, or babies as I call them. So this is what happened, is that we actually sat in our previous episode and we did take the bulb and divide it. But what I've seen now, which we can have a look, and so this must be about 6 weeks old from the time of Christmas. So the other day I had a look at it, and this was just the division of the bulb. So here was the mother bulb. And so what we did is we actually went back here and we divided it into 4 sections like that, and then to see if I get my bulblet. So the other day I looked at it and I noticed that I've got 1 bulb coming up here, which as it matures, I can actually use it, pull it away from the mother and actually use it as a singular plant. So now, as we see, we've got 2 bulblets coming here, maturing. I'm going to put it back, and what I did was simply place the bulb after division, is I placed it only in vermiculites. So I'm just going to put it back here, and the rooting does look very strong. So I'm actually very optimistic, but seeing that it was my first try, is basically I'd like to try it on a bigger bulb and we see how that one matures. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take the big bulb and I'm just going to cut it here, which I have done. I might even just remove a bit more here, just so that it's straight. And then what I'm going to do here, this is the basil plate here. I'm just going to take this knife and go straight down. Just like that. So what I have here, this is the basil plate of the amaryllis. All these little funny nodes here is where the rooting is, these little dots, circles. So what I'm going to do here is actually divide it. I'm going to go down like this. I'm going to go down like this. And then I'm going to go again this way. And then I'm going to go here. I'm going to go down like this. And we're going to use exactly the same technique as we did in the one which has produced the bulblet. Is I've got some wooden sort of sticks, because the whole idea is to actually place it in the middle, right down, and separate it. Because the problem with these bulbs is that if you don't do the division, is that in the end they actually do mold back and you've lost your purpose. So here I'll just again put another in here like that, separate it there, and then I'm going to take another one go across here. So everywhere you've made your incision, go in and separate it. There, and then we have the last one. So I'm taking this one, the last one, and everywhere you've made your incision is we go down. So basically, this is it. So what I'm going to do is actually take my pot here. What I've done is that with these garden pots is they do have really big drainage hole. So what I've done is I put some sphagnum moss in here to stop the vermiculite from falling out. So what I'm going to do is actually pour this in here like that and make my hole here, and I'm going to take my bulb and place it in here. Oops. So what I'm going to do now is about a third, I'm going to just cover it with the vermiculite, just like that. And this is exactly what we did with that one, chipping. And I've never tried this technique, but I want to see that I get a little success story from it. That is my chipping for my amaryllis. I'm going to wet it a little bit so that the vermiculite is slightly moist so it can assist the rooting. So that is my chipping, similar to the one we've done here, and it takes 12 weeks for it to actually work, so we just have to have a bit of patience. And what I'm going to do with this one, as I did previously with this particular one, is I'm going to place it with a dome. Now the dome, what it does, it actually creates like a greenhouse effect, so that in the end it retains the humidity, it retains the heat that you need for the rooting. And every single sort of 3-4 days, I would open it up, take your cloth or your sponge, dry out, clean out all that moisture and return it, just like that. So fellow gardeners, we will follow this up. It's actually a big project here, but at least I do have remnants of my plant, and I will pot these plants again and hope that next season, which is usually sort of September, October, November in Kenya, that these plants will sprout out and give me the glory that I really had over the festive season. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like, to share, and press that notification button so you could always be informed when we upload our videos. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm also on YouTube. Comments, do send me your comments. I always do love receiving your comments. And then give me some ideas. We can share your technique and actually share it amongst ourselves. Thank you so much and have a happy gardening, and do look after your amaryllis. Bye.